美国时事通，我是罗文。
今天是2025年6月3号星期二 Happy Tuesday。 今天先讲一下关于经济的哈。昨天川普的这个贸易办公室就给各个相关谈判的重要国家发了 email， 就说限定他们在周三之前，也就是明天之前交上他们最好的一个 offer， 交上他们关于贸易合同最好的一个 offer， 你们要减税多少，你们要去除怎么样的贸易壁垒等等哈，就是交出他们最好的一个合同。这是在美国的法院对川普的不利的判决，以及到7月9号的最后期限没多久之前哈，川普的又一个举措。看看明天之前有多少国家交出来他们的这个 offer 哈。那如果你不交出来也可以啊，川普就说很简单，我们也不用跟你签贸易合约，我们就直接一刀划哈，大概哪个国家多少，我们定一个关税的比例，就照此办理就完了，就很简单哈，没有什么可多说的。所以并不是说美国一定要去进行贸易谈判的，贸易谈判是因为我们增加了这样的关税的话，其他的国家想降低关税，所以才要谈判。你不谈判可以啊，我们全部一刀切。那当然在这期间美国一直在收关税哈，美国在5月份就已经收了223亿的关税。当然左派一直都不看好这个关税政策，一直在叫说是要衰退啊，什么通胀，结果统统没有发生。所以当媒体问到商务部长 Benson 的时候， Benson 就直言不讳的说，你们每次都叫狼来了，你们说要通胀，你看我们不仅没有通胀，而且我们这几个月是4年以来首次没有通胀的4个月。那然后记者不依不饶说，你看沃尔玛 Target 的时候他们都要涨价什么的。Benson 就说，那你只说沃尔玛 Target 的，那你怎么不说一说像 Home Depot 还有 Amazon 这样的商家，他们说他们大部分产品是来自于美国的，他们不升高他们的价格，那你们怎么不说？南华早报说来自中国产品的 65% 的关税实际上是被他们自己吸收了，而不是美国消费者承担了。我们可以看一下这一段。
We wanted to make sure that there aren't price increases, Margaret, and thus far there have been no price increases. Everything has been alarmist, that the inflation numbers are actually dropping. We saw the first drop of inflation in 4 years. The inflation numbers last week, they were very pro-consumer.
Right. But you listen to earnings calls just like we do. Mm-hmm. You know what Walmart's saying, what Best Buy's saying, and what Target are saying.
But Margaret, I also know what Home Depot and Amazon are saying. I know what the South China Morning Post wrote within the past 24 hours, that 65% of the tariffs will likely be eaten by the Chinese producers.
那当然你可以说，这是川普政府的内阁的说话不作数。那我们可以看看民众的反应哈。那在 CNN 最近的一个民调中，也让 CNN 的这个民调分析员大跌眼镜。他说居然不管是民主党怎么样的去打压，他们发现在民调中共和党的经济计划比民主党的要领先2位数，不管是在哪个民调中。
Yeah, you would think after all of the waves, Kate Baldwin, after the last few months, the first 5 months of the Donald Trump presidency, right, the first 4 months of the Donald Trump presidency, that you expect that Democrats would have this massive lead on the economy. It ain't so. It ain't so. The party that is closest to your economic views, in November of 2023, it was the Republicans by 11 points. Now it's still within that range, still within that margin of error. Plus 8-point advantage for the Republican Party. How is that possible, Democrats? How is that possible after all the recession fears, after the stock market's been doing all of this, after all the tariffs that Americans are against, and Republicans still hold an 8-point lead on the economy? Are you kidding me?
This is new CNN polling.
Yes.
How is that, when we look for trends, how is that trending with other data that you're pulling in?
Yeah, if it was just this one CNN poll, that would be one thing. But take a look at Reuters Ipsos. What do we see here? Party with a better economic plan. Well, in May of 2024, just before Donald Trump was reelected president, Republicans had a 9-point advantage. Look at where we are now in May of 2025. The advantage actually went up by 3 points. Now Republicans have a 12-point advantage when it comes to the party with a better economic plan. And again, this is after months of supposed economic uncertainty, in which the stock market's been going bonkers, in which the tariff wars that Americans are against have been going on. And yet, despite all of that, the Democrats are down by 12 points on the economy. This speaks to Democratic problems on the economy better than basically anything that you could possibly look at. The Republicans still hold an advantage on the all-important key issue of the day, and that is the reason why, even if Donald Trump's approval rating ratings are a little bit lower than they used to be. Republicans are not out of the ballgame because they still have a clear advantage on the economy, whether you look at CNN's polls or whether you look at the Ipsos poll right here, in which they have a 12-point advantage on the economy, Kate.
And also in the CNN data, it does show that Republicans are gaining ground in an area that is key relating to all of this, which is when it comes to the middle class.
Yeah. You know, historically speaking, which is the party of the middle class has been a huge advantage for Democrats. I have polling from NBC going all the way back since 1989 when Democrats had a 23-point advantage. 2016, a 17-point advantage. But by this decade, we already started seeing declines back in 2022 where you saw that Democrats led, but only by 4 points, well within the margin of error. And now in our latest CNN poll among registered voters, which is the party of the middle class, it is tied. This, I think, speaks to Democratic ills more than anything else. They have traditionally been the party of the middle class. No more. Donald Trump and the Republican Party have taken that mantle away, and now a key advantage for Democrats historically has gone adios amigos, and now there is no party that is the party of the middle class. Republicans have completely closed the gap, Kate.
All right, there's a lot of messages and a lot to be learned from these numbers and this data. It's good to see you.
通过10年的川普主义，共和党已经成为了中产阶级的政党、拉丁裔的政党、黑人的政党以及几乎要成为年轻人的政党，所以你可以看到，这就是川普主义领导美国在政治版图发生了一个非常惊人的变化。那当然，除了经济一块的话，那关于移民，川普政府仍然在大规模的递解移民。
ICE then arrested this Salvadoran illegal alien who was previously convicted of child rape. He was deported in 2017 after he went to prison and illegally re-entered the U.S. He was found living right next to this children's playground.
So you guys just snagged a previously deported, convicted child rapist living 100 yards from a child's playground. Is that unusual out here?
Not in Massachusetts. It's not unusual. Due to the open border policies, we are finding that plenty of people who have been previously deported and committed heinous crimes and were removed from the country are now back here, just living among us. And now that's our job to go round them up.
那现在 ICE 基本上每天递解1000多个非法移民哈，但是他们说离 Stephen Miller 的要求还很远。Stephen Miller 要求他们每天逮捕递解3000个非法移民。
Under President Trump's leadership, we are looking to set a goal of a minimum of 3,000 arrests for ICE every day, and President Trump is going to keep pushing to get that number up higher each and every single day so we can get all of the Biden illegals that were flooded into our country for 4 years out of our country. And we can't take the risk of letting these Biden illegals roam around freely so that the next American daughter can get raped, the next American kid can get murdered, the next American family can get splintered and torn apart by people that came into this country unchecked, uncontrolled, unvetted, uninvited by the American people. As to the reconciliation bill, Sean, there's been so much said about how incredible the big, beautiful bill is. The largest tax cut and reform in American history. The most significant energy reform, unlocking American energy in American history. Deregulation like we have never seen before. The most significant, largest welfare reform in American history. But the bill also includes the complete fulfillment of President Trump's campaign promises on every aspect of immigration and homeland security so that we can have permanently the safest, strongest, most secure immigration system in American history, Sean.
虽然他们是以递解非法移民的犯罪分子优先的，但是如果他们顺捞着碰到了其他的非法移民，他们也递解无虞哈。那据政府的说法，拜登放进了60多万的非法移民的犯罪分子哈，包括杀人、强奸等等各种犯罪行为的犯罪分子。
Yeah, and Sandra, bear with me. We just got these numbers moments ago, but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered, deported from the country by a judge, but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there. Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges who are roaming the country, and another 4,250 non-citizens who have pending sexual assault charges who are roaming the country on the non-detained docket. So people's eyes might be glazing over right now with all the numbers we just threw at you. Just to put it in a nutshell right here, what we've learned from the acting ICE director via this letter to Congressman Tony Gonzalez is right now there are over 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of homicide who are roaming the United States right now. There are another 15,811 illegal aliens roaming the country right now who have been convicted of sexual assault, and there are even more who are facing charges for homicide and charges for sexual assault. So this just goes to show, guys, the non-detained docket has exploded under the Biden administration to over, I believe it's 7.3 million. They're anticipating it could hit 8 million by the end of the year. But looking at the numbers on this letter right here, there are currently over 600,000 non-citizens on ICE's non-detained docket who are either convicted, 600,000 non-citizens on this non-detained docket who are roaming the country right now. Of that, 425,000 have already been convicted of crimes. 222,000 are pending crimes. And again, the most serious crimes we just told you about, over 13,000 convicted of homicide, over 15,000 convicted of sexual assault. And honestly, that is not a surprise to hear given these horrible headlines we keep seeing popping up in multiple parts of the country almost every day now of a horrible sexual assault or a murder or another violent felony committed by an illegal alien who is often caught and released from custody. And the jaw dropper here too, guys, is all these numbers we just rattled off, they don't even account for the nearly 2 million gotaways who have crossed our border under the Biden administration. Those almost 2 million gotaways, they were never encountered by DHS. They snuck in. They were never caught by Border Patrol. They were never encountered by ICE. There's no record of them, so they have nothing to do with the numbers I just rattled off to you. These are just the numbers of people that ICE has already encountered, that Border Patrol has encountered, that DHS knows who they are. And we just saw those horrible stories in Nantucket the other day. ICE ran a week-long operation in Nantucket, and in a single operation in a 48-hour span, they arrested 2 Salvadoran illegal aliens who came into the country as gotaways and were arrested for child rape on Nantucket. They got a Brazilian guy who was arrested for sexually assaulting a Nantucket resident, and then a Guatemalan guy who was previously deported who was arrested for sexually assaulting a Nantucket resident. So we keep seeing all these headlines about migrant crime popping up in different cities all over the country. This right here is the first time we have ever seen specific numbers as to who and what ICE is tracking when it comes to convicted criminals who have crossed the border at some point and are either supposed to be deported or are going through their immigration proceedings, but are not in ICE custody right now and are roaming the country. So I'll ping it back to you guys, but some pretty jaw-dropping numbers that we are still going through as we speak right now.
所以把他们全部缔结还是一个非常大的一个工作。昨天就抓了一个正在去学校准备训练排球的一个非法移民的一个男孩子哈，就在马萨诸塞州，那这样就引起了民主党人的非常大的不满，就说他是一个学生，他去排球场训练，他也没碍着谁，他也不是犯罪分子。然后 ICE 就说我们准备抓他爸的，他爸在逃，但是他爸潜逃了，我们没抓到他，但是我们碰到他了，他也是非法移民，他也没有资格留在美国的，所以我们也要把他递解出境，说我们对他的逮捕是合法的。而且 ICE 现在有一个新的动作哈，就是他们在法庭外穿着便衣去逮捕这些参加移民法庭受审完之后的这些非法移民。你参加移民法庭的受审之后，他通常会给你说我撤销你的案件，或者不予受理，还是说我接受你的庇护申请什么的哈。那在法庭判决之后，那这些穿便衣的 ICE 就马上把这些 避难申请被驳回了，这些非法移民逮捕上车了。所以昨天有的人就不高兴哈，有的非法移民就说这就是一个圈套嘛，你们要我们来受审，受审之后这个外边这个 ICE 的人就等着，所以他们也非常的不高兴。但是 ICE 的人说我就是执法的。
We captured the moment two men went from migrants to detainees. It happened last week at Dallas Immigration Court when nearly a dozen people showed up to have their asylum cases heard. Their cases were dismissed by the judge, and when they walked out of the courtroom, plainclothes federal agents were waiting to take them into custody. Immigration attorney Belinda Arroyo says targeting migrants at the courthouse used to be a rare event.
What does it do when an ICE agent is in the court and they're not dealing with somebody who's currently in ICE custody?
Well, I think it makes everybody be on edge.
It's not just happening in Dallas. Asylum seekers in San Antonio were seen crying and begging for help as they were led away in handcuffs. Two Department of Homeland Security officials tell CBS News ICE is asking immigration judges across the country to dismiss the court cases of certain migrants so the agency can arrest them once their hearings end and place them in a fast-track deportation process known as expedited removal. Outside of Miami Courthouse, this migrant in cuffs says in Spanish, it's a trap. The Department of Homeland Security released this statement to CBS News, saying Secretary Noem is reversing Biden's catch-and-release policy that allowed millions of unvetted illegal.
那当然 ，ICE 的人很多也是戴着面具进到社区去抓人的哈，因为他们现在很多人遭到民主党的疯狂的反扑，有的人肉搜索，有的就对他们造成伤害的恐怖行为。由于川普边境的管理还有大规模的递解非法移民的话，那现在甚至是芬太尼的流入也减少了，所以华盛顿邮报有一个标题说芬太尼神秘的减少了。什么叫神秘的减少了？他们明明知道这是因为川普政府关于边境的管理导致不管是毒品走私犯还是人口走私犯都不可能从边境进来，所以那当然从边境进来的这个芬太尼会大幅的减少。OK， 这是今天的播报，感谢您的收看，加油。